Hello, welcome to Patriotnightcap. Very excited tonight as we talk to Mrs. Kayla Laborde from our Patriot community and Dr. Cynthia Glickman. She's also in our Patriot community. She came through Kayla. Let me just dive right in. Dr. Cynthia Glickman, you have a doctorate in human cognition, emphasis math technology, right?
Yes.
You are a fascinating person. We had a couple of minutes to talk here before we just dove right in. I want to know your story, and if you would please hold up your book. Dr. Cynthia Glickman has a daughter of a porn king. So this is going to be an exciting episode. Now you wrote this. You wrote this in 2011, and by the way, you can find this on Amazon. Dr. Cynthia Glickman, tell me a little bit of the backstory of, what led you to write this book, and if you can just, share a story or two, because it does relate to things that are happening today, how we're all seeing how people are brainwashed and they're not really thinking clearly. And I think one of your messages today is, your past doesn't have to equal your future. You tell me, because this is kind of what I'm getting from talking to you, which I love. And you're also on YouTube and Rumble, messages from the universe. Dr. Cynthia Glickman, take it away.
Okay, well, so the reason that I wrote this book was I really have been on a spiritual journey my whole life, and growing up in an environment where Tracy Lords was having Lucky Charms at our breakfast table. One could say that would be a catalyst for wanting to maybe discover something more. So yeah, one of the first memories I have that really impacted me very deeply was we were actually in Las Vegas, and my parents used to come to the porn conventions every year out here. And there was this private section that was just, so are you familiar with the video conventions?
Yes, actually, I think I saw that on, what was the, oh my God, I'm slipping. What was the Dirk Diggler show?
Oh, I don't know, but yeah. And
not to know what I'm talking about. Is it?
So the porn portion of it used to get really, really crazy and wild. Yeah. And of course, like,
they're handing out best actor awards, right, in the porn industry.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And of course it would happen in Vegas. Yes.
Yeah.
So your dad was big. Was he getting awards? Like, I'm not sure what to ask right now. How popular was your dad? And I may have to have a nightcap. Go ahead.
So my dad actually was a producer. So he produced and distributed it. So back in that, at that time, keep in mind, this is before the internet. So distributing it across state lines was actually illegal. So they would have to speak in code over the phone, like, okay, I'm going to send you 10
Boogie nights just came to me.
Okay.
Sorry, yes. Oh my God. Okay,
that was exactly right. Like, I had this conversation with my dad a few years back because I was asking him some things about the whole story, and I didn't even know. He's like, oh yeah, like I had hits on my life. They were involved with mafia. I mean, it was a crazy world. So I wasn't aware of that part, but what I was exposed to as a 5-year-old girl and walking into a porn convention with my 6-year-old brother with backstage watching like Tarzan and Jane swinging from the ceiling in their and these bootylicious mamas that barely had their chi-chis covered.
So your dad just sort of assimilated you into this world, or
well, I mean, when we talk about the porn conventions, yes, but like, I think my parents actually did attempt to keep us away from it. Like in their day-to-day business, they weren't like intentionally exposing us to it. In fact, one time they were filming at our house, and they were coming in, and this camera crew was setting up lights on our stairway, And I was asking my mom, like, well, what's going on? What are they doing? Oh, they're going to film a movie here. Well, here I am as a kid. I think, oh, how awesome. Our house is going to be in Hollywood. Not understanding. And so we went on a mini vacation while they were at our house. So it wasn't like we were there watching these things happen, but I saw kind of on the outsides of these things. And, for a young girl, the parts that I did see were these women that were scantily clad, had lines and lines of men lined up to just get a simple autograph. As a little girl, I mean, they talk about it right now in social media, how all these girls compare themselves and how it's not safe for teenage girls, and right there, what are the suicide rates have been up and things like that. It was the same. I mean, that is nothing new. That's been around, right? It's been on our magazines. We've been exposed to that. And as a 5-year-old, I just remember thinking, well, how will I ever measure up?
Oh, okay. Where was your mom in this? Was she involved?
My mom was the bookkeeper.
She was the bookkeeper. Did they just try to keep you away, and they were just like, oh, mommy and daddy are busy, we're making movies? Like, what was their mind? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm asking. I really don't know.
So they had an office that was set up with salespeople. So they were all, back then, again, it was telemarketers selling this stuff to mom and pop shops all across the United States. So they had these little shops set up. You remember the video stores before, like, Blockbuster came out. Now all of that stuff is streamed, but back then so they would have these salespeople set up, and then they would have a warehouse in the back where they would have videos just all along the walls, just stacks and stacks of videos. And so they'd be able to go back there. And I mean, of course, I was exposed to the video, the covers of the videos, but I wasn't, watching them film. So.
Okay. So you were pretty shielded. You just knew that.
Yeah. And I have to give my parents credit. Like, I think that they were doing the best they could. My dad, when he was offered this job, the market was crashing back in the 70s, like interest rates were crazy high. And so they were experiencing a really difficult time. And, in order to figure out a way to make a living, I think that that's what my dad did. And it's kind of like right now where people are having a choice, right, of whether they want to do the thing or continue to get paid. And so I try to put that into perspective that, hey, he was just trying to support his family. Right.
Desperate times. Yeah. I had this conversation last night with Brianna Kayla, and, regarding the face diaper mandates. And she's like, listen, if I could homeschool my child, I would, but I have to work. I mean, a lot of people actually, she will homeschool her when it comes down to it, but a lot of people cannot. You know what I mean? A lot of people have to work, of course.
Well, so, I wish that more people, though, would figure out, like, I'm a former math professor, and I've offered friends of mine, like, look, I know that you can't teach 5 days a week, right? Like, but what you can do is join together, and I'd be willing to do the math, right? And how many other parents would help, like, if they could all just kind of join forces? Because I think that's a scary place to send kids right now.
Where? To school? Oh, I took my kid out in New York. Yeah, I'm sorry that my family walked. I took my kid out in New York.
Yeah.
Said, okay, everyone's lost their mind. And then, I had my brother calling me, and I'm like, yeah. And then people telling me to go stand in my circle, all this stuff. So we relocated. Thank God. That was just like a gift. But so yeah, but I did take her out. And now, yeah, well, okay, so now we've got California moving in, but Arizona is a little bit like a bubble out here. So we're kind of.
Well, I did buy a piece of land in Arizona. Does that?
Oh, you did?
Can I go hide out over there? Yeah.
Where in Sedona?
I hope I'm out far enough, but I'm probably going to need to get some shotguns or something, I'm guessing.
I mean, hey, listen, You'll never convince me it went blue. Everyone's still like red out here, and they've got
That's
their
what I think. I think that's,
Yeah.
but you know, but you can't really,
So what would you say, if you had to say like, well, actually there is something that did affect me in your opinion with that upbringing, what would it be and what inspired you to write your book, Daughter of a Porn King? Like, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so specifically how it affected me is how I was saying is me as this little girl going, how am I ever going to measure up to that? And thinking that really I'm not lovable because I can't even fathom being this bootylicious mama like these women were and how they're being so worshipped. And so it affected me throughout all my relationships where I finally had to continue to do spiritual work and really come to not just my connection to God, but just a connection with my own inner self and recognize that, we are divine children of God and that I am lovable, that we're all worthy, we're all here for a purpose. So that was probably the most impactful, is that observing that going on really implanted on my subconscious, where consciously I wanted to have a healthy relationship with a partner and I wanted to have these things in my life. And yet many of us go along in life not realizing that it's kind of like having rocks in your shoes, right? And saying, oh no, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt that much. Instead of like taking your shoe off and dumping the rocks out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind
really
of what
good analogy. Yeah. So at what point did you say, okay, maybe I need to examine my life? And then was writing your book therapeutic? Like, cause when David wrote When the Lights Go Out, he had a lot he had to get out, and I think he just wrote it on his phone, and he'll talk about that and how it was therapeutic for him. So would you say that your book was therapeutic?
Yeah, well, a lot of people, so I had actually already written Finding Your J Spot and J for Joy. And which again, I haven't published yet, but I was encouraged to publish Daughter of a Porn King. But I think when that time came, I had already done so much inner work that it wasn't cathartic like people thought it would be. It was more just like, here's how it felt as a child. So some of it actually comes across very dark, while the ultimate intention of the book was to actually inspire people that, hey, it might have been dark for you, or there might have been challenges, but you have a choice. You can choose to transform it. You can choose to live happy. And it's not just like taking a happy sticker and putting it on your gas tank when the gas tank is empty. It's like really filling that tank up. And
how do you do that? Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? How do you do that? No, I really want to know, because what helped me a lot was I loved Bikram yoga. I actually enjoyed the torture of the heat. I actually really did. And I'll never forget, there are some terrific teachers that would come through. This was at my studio in New York. And one teacher said, learn to first of all, stay on your mat, anchor yourself. Sometimes you got to anchor yourself in life. And then she would say things like, get comfortable in the uncomfortable position you're in. Get comfortable with it. And you're holding this position. And how many times in life do we want to just jump because we're not comfortable in our skin, or something is really, bothering us? But if you stick with it, you can kind of weather the storm. You know what I mean? So what is your do you pray? Are you a Christian? Like, what is your spiritual work?
So I meditate and I go to the gym regularly. But I want to take a springboard off of what you just said is part of what's going on in the world today is, as we observe outside of ourselves, so it's like being in that position that's not comfortable and finding comfort in it, right? Is if we're observing all these things outside of ourselves, then we can all be very uncomfortable, right? The world seems upside down and I can't believe Fauci, ouchie, this, and, the resident right now, that, and, but if we can just tune into our own selves, like, and be present in the moment, like, and look around and go, wow, but look, at least for now, I know this isn't true in some countries, but at least for now, I still have a beautiful home. I still have a roof over my head. I'm still able to get up and make a warm cup of tea every morning. And what a delight.
Yes.
Kayla,
what do you do to self heal or make yourself feel better? Because I have to say, Dr. Glickman, Kayla is one of the most positive people I've ever come across in my life. And she'll call me in the morning and she'll say things like, hey, boo boo, hey, sugar plum. And she'll just automatically
you want to call me
in a good mood the rest of the day. Like Kayla, what's your secret? I want to know. What's your secret, Kayla?
Pray. I pray a lot. And of course I drink my coffee, and I go outdoors. Like, I'm outdoors all the time. So you have to connect with, like, nature and and that's pretty much what I do. I mean, that's
pretty simple. Yeah. I jump on my Peloton. I pray in the morning. I like to pray. I like to try to get straight with God in the morning. I think that's some conditioning from my mom. But yeah, there's certain things, there's certain rituals, and I think positive self affirmations, right? Like, I have a few that I say to myself. I don't know if you guys do that, but that helps me a lot.
When I go to sleep, so I've got two more tools that are kind of cool. So when I go to sleep, I have, they're like sleep hypnosis. And you can do ones that are specific about financial abundance, specific about love, specific about just having great experiences. I have one that's just great experiences. And so I started listening to that one, and man, I just sort of got so excited, and I'm like, today is such a great day.
Do you share this on your messages from the universe? Is this stuff we can find over there?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just interviewed this amazing author that she wrote a book about like 17 different techniques that you can use to connect into God, and 8 additional techniques that are very specific. And one of them that she did with us live, that so you can go over there and actually do it. It's only going to take 5 minutes. Every morning, like, I actually do it where I fill my heart up with love. And I actually, to me, I kind of visualize that I'm connecting into God or source, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I feel the love like coming down into me as well. And I feel my whole body up with love. So you can even kind of imagine your whole body being filled up with pink light, and then sending that out to the planet and seeing that like start with your street, your city, our country. And there's a lot of power in that.
Our country could definitely use that right now. Right, Kayla?
Well, and if more of us were putting out love rather than the hate that's being propagated,
that's true. That is really true, because we're all sort of focusing, I think, on the division when we need to really think about trying to come together and the unification, right? Because I do that too. I go like, what in the hell are they thinking? But then that's kind of a part of the agenda, isn't it? Is that we get into this polarization, but like when my brother says pick a lane, I have to agree with him. I'm like, you kind of have to at this point.
Yeah.
But maybe we can find a way to it's this is being pre-recorded, and it's right on the heels of Christmas, and so you do start to find yourself feeling more gratitude and being in a more loving space. And so these are good thoughts to have, and trying to send out just a more love and a higher vibration, I think.
start the new year like that for sure.
Yeah.
So can I share something that I did today?
Yeah.
I went to breakfast this morning and people are wearing those, face adornments and there's a mandate here, which I don't understand because that doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so in the front is everybody that's wearing those things. And then the whole dining room is totally packed, right? With everybody eating, and there's not a face adornment anywhere to be found.
Well, it's such a game of charades, isn't it? I feel like I'm in theater and I'm like, this is a game of charades. I was walking into one of my daughter's events the other day and the girl stopped me and she goes, you need to put on your face diaper. And then I looked at her and I said, look at every single person in there. They don't have it on. She leans over, she goes, I know, I'm just working this job and I have to say that. And I'm like, oh my God.
But so that's part of the not critical thinking that we're talking about off seat, right? That
no, there's no critical thinking happening right now.
So what can we do to help encourage that?
And resist. I guess resist.
Well, not complying, but maybe even asking questions, because so by the way, I walk in and the guy's like, oh, you have to have your thing on your face. And I'm like, oh, really?
What thing are you referring to?
I go, okay, well, if I go, and so I went and sat down at the bar and I go, so is it okay now? Am I okay now? He's like, and then he didn't even know what to do. He was so confused.
But you know what? You said something earlier about your dad needing a job. Okay, let's talk about that, because this is a serious problem. And then Nino will say things like, "Oh, I was just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job." But people do need jobs. Okay, they do need them. However, if you're being told you have to do something so utterly ridiculous that you disagree with, then go find another job, right? Maybe easier said than done. But I mean, I can listen, many times in my life, I was like, hey, this sucks. I'm leaving. And there's many jobs. Cynthia, you talk about your inner voice and trusting it, that's really important. And I think if you learn to just trust yourself a little more and say, this isn't, like I said when I was in New York, this isn't going to work for me. This is really not going to work. And I went home and I said, listen, Anthony, we got to go. We got to find a way out of here, because I think this is going to get worse. Guess what it is? I know my friends contact me constantly in New York and they're like, oh my God, in order to have a play date, and they'll read the message to me. If your child has only had one, then they are allowed to stay for half an hour, but they have to wear the, and I'm reading this and I'm like, oh my God, this is full on Nazism. Like, it has gotten worse.
But it's the science. I'm saying that sarcastically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, where is the logic in that? So
no, I don't know. And by the way, there's this whole scare there again. And my friend, my best friend is hiding in a basement. She won't come out. She's terrified.
Oh.
And I feel terrible. I'm like, move here now. But easier said than done, right? Is there anything else that you would like to add, Dr. Glickman? I've had the best time talking to you. We do these spotlights a couple times a week. You can be found on Messages from the Universe on YouTube and Rumble. And hold up your book again, Daughter of a Porn King. My God, will you send that to me? I want to read it. Will you sign it? I want to read this. Yes. Daughter of a Porn King. That can be found on Amazon. I mean, no catchier title, right?
What's that?
Kayla, do you have anything to add? Would you like to ask a question or anything you want to say?
No. Thank you for being you.
Yeah, thank you for being you. You are gorgeous, and you're saying, listen, let's all have some critical thinking and let's get back to being spiritual and positive and sending the positive vibes out and trusting yourself. Like, you trust yourself.
Yeah. And one other thing that just as support, encouragement for anyone that happens to catch this is, you know, a lot of people have been really discouraged, especially right now, because like even my family members, they're like, if you're not, you know, we don't even want you to come.
I
And
can't believe this. For the life of me, I cannot believe. Where's the love? That's what my next question would be. Well, where is the love?
and I think that for us, it actually, so those of us that are experiencing that is to find even deeper love and recognize, you know what, that's where they're at, and have acceptance and love and compassion, because, you know, whether it's Stockholm syndrome or, you know, or just MK Ultra or whatever you want to call it, like, we can, so the encouragement is that, hey, it's okay, like we can find our family, right? That you guys have been wonderful, and we can support each other, and there's other people that feel the way that we do. And I think that when they did the lockdowns, people were separated intentionally, and they didn't realize that there were other people thinking the way that we think.
A lot of fear, a lot of fear. You know, let's have freedom over fear, and
faith.
Yeah. And you know, we should have a part 2 and talk more MK Ultra. I would like to get into that a little bit more. But I think my note is to end this show is to say, you know, faith over fear, you know, hold the line and trust yourself. Trust yourself. And if something doesn't feel right, get the hell out. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, bust a move, man.
Yeah, it's always going to take you someplace better anyway. It just might not seem like that at the time, but it's always going to lead to something better.
At the time. But yeah, when you cross that bridge, you go, oh my God, thank God I had, you know, the faith in myself that I just took that little leap, and things are okay, and I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be okay. God bless you. Thank you so much, Dr. Glickman. Everybody go toxin free. Patriots, you know what to do.
All right.
Trust in you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Issues, just about with you. Yeah.